everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be comparing a 2020 Jaguar F-Pace S to a 2020 Range Rover Velar R Dynamic. And these vehicles are way more similar than people think. They have the same powertrain options and they're about the same size. Pricing is a little bit different, but they're super similar. That all being said, a huge shout out and thank you to Land Rover Jaguar here in Salt Lake for providing us with both the F-Pace and the Velar. Check out the inventory in the link below if you're in the market for a Range Rover or for a Jaguar. We're gonna do a quick walk around on both these vehicles. And by the way, if you want to see driving impressions on the Velar and on the Jaguar, link in the description below to my review on the Velar and then my review on the Jaguar. Let's get into the video. Let's go into the hoods of the F-Pace and the Velar, starting over with the F-Pace. So we have a supercharged 3-liter V6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 380 horsepower, 332 pound-feet of torque. Fuel economy is 18 around town and then 23 on the highway. Going over to the Velar, this one also has a 3-liter supercharged V6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is a little bit better, 18 around town and then 24 on the highway. Power outputs are 340 horsepower and then 332 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go over the front ends of both the F-Pace and the Velar, starting over with the F-Pace. So the hood, nothing too crazy is happening there. You just kind of have that bulge right there in the center. Coming down to the lights, it is full LEDs for the lights, and then you do get that cool little LED accent light that comes around. And then the grille itself is just a massive black grille with the Jaguar logo there in the center, but you do have the little S badging on the side so that people know what you're driving. You have the venting over there with parking sensors integrated all along the front. But in terms of like the design, it's definitely kind of more like a rounded off design. Now coming over to the Velar, popping the lights on so you guys can see those, says Range Rover there at the top, and then notice everything's kind of like more squared off on the front end compared to the Jaguar. The Jaguar is definitely more rounded, but you can see full LED lights, and I love the little LED accent lights, just how they're all separated. It's a really nice little look. And then I don't know what else to call these other than like front strakes. They're just kind of like those little lines right there. They just look really good. It actually does have a front splitter across the front, which I think is really cool on an SUV. It looks really good in person. But yeah, there's everything for the front end of both the Velar and the F-Pace. Let's go over things on the side of both the cars. So over on the Jaguar, we have 20-inch rims with 255mm tires wrapped around them, and then on the Velar, again, 20-inch rims with 255mm tires wrapped around them. In terms of the design, I think the Jaguar rims look really good. I love the silver accent because then it goes with the rest of the accents on this particular F-Pace. And then I like the little red brake caliper in there. It's definitely a nice little touch. Coming over to the Velar, I mean, yeah, black dot rims always look good in my opinion, but that's just me. There is a little R Dynamic badge right there just down below on the Velar so that people know that you're driving the bad boy R Dynamic. Coming up here, I love how they have this body line that just continues along the entire portion of the Velar. Definitely a nice little touch right there. And then with the Jaguar, you have all those little silver touches, like I said, that are just all around the F-Pace. And well, that's everything. So let's head to the rear. Here's our key fob for the F-Pace. You have a couple functions. You've got your unlock, your lock, and then these are the lights. So that's how I turn the lights on and off at the front of both the cars. You just press that button, which I think is pretty neat. But holding this down, this will open up the rear in the F-Pace. And then we are going to pop in here for just a moment. So notice that the cargo cover is kind of built in with the whole hatch design. And then other than that, in the back, decent amount of storage space. Your spare tire is just underneath here, under the loading floor itself. Other than that, I mean, honestly, they just keep things pretty simple in the back. And then when you are done with the rear, there is a little function up here. Just press that, and then that'll lower down the hatch. Here's our key fob for the Velar. Notice it's identical to what's on the Jaguar, except for it says Range Rover on it. So that all being said, we are going to pop it open, and there's a really neat feature back here. So coming into the rear, again, storage space is really solid back here. I mean, there's a ton of stuff happening back here. Cargo cover is a little bit different, so you pull it along this little track, so it's not built into the actual like hatch assembly, but I like this. It's really easy to use. It's just a straight track and probably the best cargo cover that I've seen. This is the cool part though. So these little functions right here, you can raise and lower the rear of the Velar, so then it can make it so that if you need to get something in that's really heavy, it's hard to pick up, lower it down, get it inside, and then you can raise it back up to where the suspension was. And then just like on the Jaguar, when you are done, the button up here to press, and then boom, pops back down. Now let's finish things up in the rear of both the F-Pace and the Velar. Starting with the F-Pace, I love these taillights. Again, they're like super similar to what is on the F-Type, and that car is just beautiful. Now they do have the little exhaust tips out of the bottom right there with the parking sensor just integrated to the corner. Has the S badging, so again, people know what you are driving. But again, everything's kind of like rounded off here in the rear. It's just kind of like a Jaguar F-Type, but then just like gigantic, basically. Coming over to the Velar, has really cool taillight assembly. So they have this 3D look on the lights. So you can see the LEDs kind of continue to the back. And again, it's a really neat kind of like modern look with the Velar. And then over here, you can tell how much power it has because it says P340. If it had the 380, then it would say P380. So pretty simple right there. But taking a step back, everything is kind of like squared off a little bit more compared to what is on the F-Pace. But I really like the design cues on here, and I love the contrast, how they have like the darker roof to the lighter colored body. And then again, you got the little exhaust tips there. But notice if you squint really hard, there is a receiver hitch at the bottom. And that is pretty much everything for the rear of the Velar and the F-Pace. Now let's pop in the back of the F-Pace quickly. So opening that up, and it does have keyless entry in the back, as you could see. Here's the door panel on the back of the F-Pace. I love just this continuous line with the stitching, then it just like boom, abruptly ends. Now here are the seats in the rear of the F-Pace. Nice leather, I've got stitching all throughout. And then I am gonna pop in for just a second here. So step in height, it's really easy to get in. I have plenty of legroom here in the F-Pace. And in terms of headroom, I'm 5'11", and I mean, I fit back here, no problem. It has a panoramic sunroof as well. Here are the vents in the rear, and then you have a couple USBs and a 12-volt. Finally, there is a little armrest that pops down, and that's pretty much everything for the rear. So we're gonna pop out of the F-Pace here, and well, coolest door handles ever. So press this, it'll unlock it, and yeah, door handles pop out. It's a really cool look. Now with the door panel in the Velar, I love the soft touch that they do up here. We do have piano black trim, and then they've got like the nice leather trim down here with the contrast stitching at the bottom, and again, it just boom, disappears abruptly. Now here are the seats, and they've got these cool lines that go through the seats with the stitching. It's a really nice look. And popping in here, it's just as easy to get in as the F-Pace. In terms of legroom, again, I feel like the legroom's about the same. And on the headroom side of things, it feels about the same again. Now, notice that the vent setup, everything here is the same, except we do get heated seats in the back of the Velar. And then cup holder setup, this is all identical. Coming to the front of the Jaguar, we do have the locking function, and when you unlock it, it will power fold the mirrors out automatically. Now the door panel here in the front looks identical to what's in the rear, so you have that same like little stitching line. Memory seat controls and door lock and unlock are right there. And then over here you have your window controls up top. So it's kind of at the top of the door panel, which is pretty interesting. Now here are these seats, and again, it actually says S there, so you know what trim package you purchased. The stitching goes all around. I like the look of the seats, and they feel very nice. Here are the controls on the side of these seats, and then you've got the little pedal layout just down below at the bottom. Here's the function to open up the rear hatch itself. And then I just want to show you guys the back of the steering wheel. Before we pop in, well, we're gonna go over the Velar first, but just so you guys can see that. And here's one more look of the F-Pace. Well, I'm gonna do this as many times as I can while I have access to this Velar, because that's cool. But again, mirrors do power fold out. But looking at the door panel here in the front, again, you got this nice soft touch. Everything's like identical to what's in the rear, except your controls for the windows are down here. And then the memory seat controls are right there instead of on the top like on the F-Pace. Now here are the seats at the front. They look like pretty much identical to the ones in the rear, just more nicely bolstered, and yeah, they feel the same. Now there's the adjustments on the side of these seats, and then here's your pedal layout just at the bottom. Again, you've got the tailgate button, you've got the parking brake, and then here's the paddles, and notice that it looks pretty much identical to what's in the F-Pace in terms of the paddle design, but there's one more look. Now we're gonna start it up, and notice that the transmission dial pops right up. Those do a sweep, infotainment system pops on, and well, you're off on your way. Here is the steering wheel in the F-Pace. Now, zooming in, we have the controls for like the cruise control on that side. Have a little S badge at the bottom, and then the controls for like the voice commands, and then the little menus in the center. Paddle shifters again are on the back of the steering wheel. We've got the smooth leather with the black contrasted stitching. I really like the steering wheel design in general, just has a nice feel to it. That is the little stock for the turn signal and then also the lights, and then the other side is the stock for the windshield wipers. Here is the little center stack. So you've got the speed on that side, and then you have the RPMs on the other side right there in the very center. This basically just shows you different bits of information on the F-Pace. It's a pretty good looking center screen from a graphic standpoint, and I mean, it's relatively easy to use, and well, that's all for the center stack. Here's our center infotainment system. It's relatively easy to use. I love how they have all of the little shortcuts here at the bottom. So like if I want to go to the camera system, just press the camera button, it takes me right to that, and that'll lead me to going over to the backup camera. So that's what the backup camera looks like. It's got those little trajectory lines that come with it. Other than that, like I said, I like the setup on the infotainment system. I feel like it's really intuitive, it's easy to use, and I mean, it's just nicely put here in the center. Down below the whole infotainment system, we have our climate controls, and then you got your little stop start button right there, volume control on the other side, which is pretty just random in a way. But this is the little transmission dial, and then to get in the manual mode, you actually have to push the dial in. But other than that, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward transmission selector. Over here we have our little auto stop start. On the other side we have our stability control. This is the drive mode, so you press these buttons to go into the different drive modes, but the information is going to pop on here. So you can see that you've got the dynamic drive mode, you've got the normal, you've got the eco, you've got the off-road mode is what that is. But also you have to wait in the mode for a second, and then it confirms. I like that, so that if you accidentally go into a mode, you can quickly go out of it before it changes the vehicle settings. Now coming over here, we have our like off-road cruise control, parking brake right here in the center. And then you can hide the cup holders with that little panel right there. Here's the center console. We've got the nice little stitching. Opening it up, we've got the little USBs and then a 12 volt inside of there. And then finally, glove box in this area, and it's a pretty normal size glove box. I do like the soft touch and stitching above it though. Up top, we've got our sunglass holder, and then you do have a full panoramic sunroof. And the one thing I like about the sunroof is if I press this in lightly, it'll just barely move it. If I press it and kind of like hold it, then it'll open it all automatically. So I love how it has those two different settings with the sunroof. And then it is a suede headliner, which is very nice, just looks nice and feels nice. Now the button for the Velar is right over there, so it just takes a second to get to, but everything will come to life. And by the way, the little dial does the same exact thing. So you notice that when I turn it off, it pops down, and then when I turn it on, well, it rises to life. Here's the steering wheel in the Velar. Now, zooming in, we have a couple functions for like the cruise control on that side. And I just love the look of this little panel. It just looks very nice and modern. Range Rover in the center. And then this is for the little center stack. You've got like your voice command controls. Perforated leather here in the center, it's grippier. And then you got this cool little metal strip that goes all around. And then you have like the smoother leather at the top. Paddles on the back, and then this is the stock for the lights, and then that is the stock for the windshield wipers. Here's the center gauge cluster. Over on the left side you've got the speed, and then on the right side you've got the RPMs. Right there in the center, this is basically just a little menu that you can scroll through. A couple different features, basically gives you different bits of information. Looks pretty much identical to what's on the Jaguar. Now the infotainment system here on the Velar definitely wins. So we have this top screen right here, and you can see that it has the same little shortcuts that's what's on the Jaguar. Camera system, all of that is the same. The cool part about this touchscreen is if I go to the settings tab on the screen, well, if I press it properly, there we go, you can change the screen angle. So notice that I can make the screen different angles depending on the glare, so it's easier to see the screen, again, depending on where the sun is, which I think is cool. And then you can also change the theme on the screen. So I have it white so that hopefully you guys can see it a little bit better, but I love this center display on the Velar. Now here's the second screen on the Velar. It's pretty cool. So you have like the climate screen, and then if I go over to vehicle, it changes it to the vehicle screen. And notice these little things change between the screens too. I just think that looks really neat. But other than that, On the drive modes itself, you can twist with this dial to go to the different drive modes. So for example, I can go into dynamic mode. That's your eco mode. And then notice it shows little pictures there, the side, depending on what you're doing. And then you have the normal, and then this is your grass, gravel. Over here is going to be the mud ruts. So that's probably like your hardcore off-roading. And this is going to be your sand mode. But I think it's pretty cool how it changes the car, and it also changes where the suspension's at. So nice little touch there, and I just love this second screen. And here's that transmission dial, and again, you have to push it in to get into the shifting mode. Press this and boom, cup holder pops out, which again, it's a nice little touch. Get a 12 volt here and then another random cup holder. It has interesting armrests, so you notice that it stops at any point. There are 2 separate armrests, and you can stop it at any point, which I really like, because then you can have it wherever you want. Looking in here, it's identical to what's in the F-Pace for the center console. And then closing that up, coming over to the glove box, you can see normal size glove box lined with felt. And again, you got this nice soft touch above with more of the piano black trim. Now let's go over pricing on both of the vehicles. So the F-Pace stickers for about $63,000 and the Velar stickers for a whopping $77,000. So, well, there's a $14,000 price difference between the two vehicles. Now, I do have to pick a winner in this video, and I know a lot of people are probably going to side with the F-Pace because it has a little bit more horsepower and it's a lot less money, and it's pretty similar on the equipment side of things. However, the Velar, just from an aesthetic standpoint, from an interior standpoint, everything about it, it's just miles ahead of the Jaguar right now, just from everything that it has on the interior. I just love everything about it. I understand that it's so much more money, but you also get so much more equipment. So believe it or not, I am going to be picking the more expensive vehicle for the winner. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section below which one you would pick, whether it's the F-Pace or the Velar. That is going to sum things up for our video for today. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to Land Rover Jaguar here in Salt Lake for providing us with the F-Pace and then also the Velar. I'm going to include a link in the description to the inventory so you can check out both of these vehicles or any of their other inventory. But as always, if you're stopping for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you think, and then I will see all of you in that next video.